My name is Dan Young, and welcome to the Millionaire Code podcast. I'm a self-made guy that has made multi-million-dollar businesses from scratch. There's no way I could have done it without the help of mentors who provided me with the wisdom and guidance to help me create the formula for success. Each week on my podcast, I'm going to interview a hugely successful business person that will provide you their secrets to success, and that way can act as your mentor too. I can't wait to share their stories and takeaways with you. Welcome to Dan's Millionaire Code. Hey everybody, Dan Young here with Dan's Millionaire Code. I have my great friend Brandon Fugal here again to talk about something a little bit different than last time. And for those of you that didn't watch the previous podcast back in, I think it was May, let me introduce Brandon to you. Brandon is one of the most successful people I know in the commercial real estate industry. He is the most successful person I know in the commercial real estate industry. He's chairman of, let me pronounce the company right, Colliers?
Yep, Colliers International.
Colliers International, the number one commercial real estate firm in the Intermountain West. He's also the owner of the Amazing Skinwalker Ranch. If you haven't watched that on the History Channel, it is so addictive. I binge watched it for like days. The whole weekend. It was a big fest, and it was just mind-boggling. I had to watch one of the episodes twice because it was so cool. So he bought this. We'll talk about his ranch that he bought. More recently, actually this was back in May, we talked about he was a CCIM Utah Agent of the Year and Office Broker of the Year, for which he's been recognized for a majority of the past decade. At the time, he'd sold over $6 billion in real estate. It's probably much larger now. And leased over 1.6 million square feet. And he's negotiated over 150 massive transactions. You'll see him in Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, Money Magazine, and of course on the History Channel. And everything he does on there is completely authentic and awesome, which I think is phenomenal. If you're in Utah and across the West, you'll see his name plastered on all these giant new developments and buildings. So that's phenomenal. But I wanted to bring you back on because I want to talk about two subjects on this particular podcast. One is, where's the market going? You have so much experience. Where's it going for commercial, residential? Because a lot of people are thinking, is it time to buy yet? Should we wait? And the second thing I want to talk about, obviously, is your really cool project with Skinwalker Ranch.
You bet. You bet. It's a pleasure to be here. It's good to be with you, Dan.
But let's dig into real estate. What do you see, man? I mean, you've been through everything.
Yeah, I started off, my career in 1991 when we were coming out of a recession. At the time, we had the savings and loan debacle crisis that the market was still reeling from. And of course, the next crisis we lived through was the dot-com bubble bursting. And then, of course, this last cyclical change that we all had to deal with was the financial crisis. And Utah, in every period of time, has been able to not only position itself as a leading market in the country and a growth market coming out of every downturn, but has continued to build a stronger foundation for the future. And I think this crisis is no different, even though it's different than anything that we've seen before, in that we've never dealt with a pandemic relative to economic disruption on this scale. A lot of the same factors come into play as far as people and their reaction to market risk, market change, and really assessing that risk and taking advantage of opportunities that lie in the future.
So I'm curious on, is now the time for people who are thinking about investing to start looking? Should they wait a little bit more? I think when we talked earlier, you gave me some really cool metaphors about how you view this whole pandemic and how it's going to play out as far as economically.
Yeah. Historically speaking, the best time to invest in commercial real estate is always last year or yesterday. Real estate is always a really good hedge against market risk because you're investing in tangible assets, or an income stream that is supported by tangible physical assets as opposed to something that is a little bit more ethereal, like the stock market, where there's a lot of value that is accounted for based on hype, based on speculation alone. Real estate, although still dealing with some degree of speculation at times, is anchored, I think, in more solid principles for the long haul. And I think, there will be opportunities that come in the future, but there are opportunities now to take advantage of. And even though there are certain sectors of the economy that are reeling from the current, challenges that we're facing, there are other sectors that are actually prevailing and thriving in the midst of this
Tech is
this
really
pandemic.
crazy good in a lot of areas
Yeah.
right now, right?
Well, technology has become more important than ever. The ability to shift to a remote working format, and the tools that enable that have really come into play, of course, over the course of the last 90 days, and will become even more important in the future. But you look at logistics, you look at how retailing has adapted and shifted in response to these changes, and I think you look at warehouse logistics, the ability to fulfill orders, to still respond to the needs of our communities. I mean, those opportunities within the industrial market, I think, not only have been strengthened over the course of the last few months, but will be much stronger in the future as people recognize the importance of really the online, community and the distribution channels that fulfill those orders.
I think I read a LinkedIn article that you wrote and posted about the change in office space, and some people thought, look, everyone's going to work remotely. Before offices, with the Google thing and all that, everyone was crammed into these kind of social workspaces. Right. What's your take on how that's going to affect the...
Well, I think the office is going to be more important than ever. I do not believe that you can maintain a unique culture or accountability in a remote working environment long term. I don't think it's sustainable. And I think, as people have been dealing with these challenges, I think that has become more important than ever to really realize those interactions and that collaboration that really spawns not only innovation but also revenue will be important in the future. And our offices and our places where people work, where they congregate, where they interact, collaborate, are going to be essential for our success in the future. So I actually think that there is a strong argument that workspace is going to become more important than ever, and that CEOs, CFOs are going to recognize that, and recognize that you can't sustain for a long period of time a remote working model with most segments of the market and succeed and see the same type of accountability and revenue that can be generated by virtue of execution.
I agree. I mean, we had an internal discussion with our team here because we want to build a new, headquarters. How should we plan this? And so the thought was, look, we want some private offices so people can really focus and some people are more comfortable in that. But you do want some open areas that are spread apart if people want to be.
Yeah.
Right? And have those social areas, And if there is a second wave, third wave, or whatever that is, people can adapt quickly to whatever's going on. But really, people love to see other humans and brainstorm and create collaboratively.
Yeah, those casual collisions that occur in the workplace. The ideas that are generated, the transactions that end up resulting from those collisions are essential to our economy. I mean, we have so many knowledge workers. I mean, one of the real differentiators of the United States economy versus, other markets is the fact that we lead the world when it comes to innovation and thought leadership. And
that's our greatest commodity.
Yes, and you look at how essential the workplace is in order to really help that process, thrive and to be able to bring innovations to the market. And I think, as former Google CEO chief Eric Google has stated the last few months, companies in the future will most likely take down more space as they adapt, and they actually provide more creative workspace that will I think enable better collaboration and more effective results for the future, while still social distancing.
That's
as
exactly
needed.
what our team said. They want more square footage, right? But to be able to have more space for the same amount of people.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting, huh?
Well, we've seen this trend over the course of the last decade where companies have really densified their requirements, where they've put as many bodies into it, as little space as possible, and they've utilized these modular work environments in order to gain those efficiencies. I mean, there are companies that have crammed as many as 10 people per 1,000 square feet into their spaces.
Crazy.
And that is not going to be acceptable in the future, obviously. There's a heightened sensitivity to density. And, I think as companies adapt to the new normal and they implement, I think, the right type of measures and space programming in order to provide the space for the future for their employees to really thrive.
One of
It's
my
going to be
managers
critical.
said, when we were designing this building here, home away from home, because most
Right.
people spend more time working than even with their families, just because that's reality things. So if you could make it so that it's spacious, comfortable, cool things to do, social activities,
Yeah.
home fun.
Quality of life is essential in
I
the
see
workplace.
people in our building, like, they're off at 5, but they're here till 9, 10 o'clock at night. Not us asking them. They're asking, hey, is it cool if I just get some stuff done? Because, they have fun stuff, play some ping pong, play some video
Sure.
games, do those
Sure.
kind of things. That's cool, and you don't have to force people.
No.
They are just excited to be part of that space.
Well, I think one thing that this crisis has taught us over the course of the last few months is how essential that day-to-day interaction is in order to really, propel the ball down the field and to be able to actually execute with precision. I mean, no offense to everyone who has been able to, for a period of time, shift to a Zoom, Brady Bunch, teleconferencing format, but
Hollywood Squares.
But I think having that face-to-face interaction is going to be critical if we're to see our economy bounce back from this, and if we're to see our economic base grow. I mean, our economy and real innovation has really been born out of collaboration. Mm-hmm. It hasn't come of out of a video conference.
I have
or a
one more
chat.
question for you on business, and then we're going to talk about extraterrestrial phenomena. Okay, so one more question. You deal with a lot of high-profile CEOs, executives, companies, publicly traded, private, and whatnot. When you're talking to these men and women who are these leaders in finance and in companies across the world, how would you say that their portfolios are broken up between stocks, real estate, bitcoins, gold? I mean, do you see like a theme for successful people that have been successful for a long time? And why I ask though is because a lot of people watching are entrepreneurs or they want to start their own business. What do you see as a residing theme, maybe?
Well, it varies, and we're going to see that shift a bit in the future. Commercial real estate has always been, I think, an essential part of any diversification strategy. Anyone who is looking to have a diversified portfolio should have a sizable percentage of their investment portfolio in income-producing investments in the commercial real estate realm. Product type varies from industrial to multifamily to office to retail, and people have different sensitivities and different preferences as to product type. But I think commercial real estate as an asset class and really as an investment strategy is something that you typically see in any portfolio, whether it be a family office, an entrepreneur, or even pension funds, will continue to prioritize a percentage. Now, those percentages vary. It can be anywhere from 10% on up to 50% of any well-managed portfolio or investment strategy. But in any event, commercial real estate has always been seen as a critical part of any investment strategy.
What I have found, though, is this, and I discovered this a couple decades ago. The advantages, if you have a small business, of owning your own commercial real estate, the tax advantages are astronomical. I mean, I was shocked. I did it without knowing the tax advantages, a couple decades
Right.
ago, and then my CPA informed me, look, this is how much you have to pay in taxes, how much you get to keep based
Sure.
on you developing this property and improving it.
Well, in addition
Wow.
to depreciation and a lot of the other, benefits, the fact that you have almost free money. I mean, you can go out and borrow at interest rates that are at all-time lows, especially if you're a small business owner. There are programs where you can come up with just a minimal, down payment.
The SBA with like 10% down with their incredible.
The 504 program,
Whoa.
which has been, a real benefit to the small business community and those that actually want to own their own real estate or their own facilities, has, I think, made it possible for business owners and entrepreneurs to create another income stream by essentially paying themselves.
Does your company, you have a lot of guys working for you and girls working for you. Do you help small business owners that are thinking about that get into commercial space?
Absolutely. Our Utah operation, we have 4 offices in Utah with about 240 professionals, and we're the only firm that has a dedicated mergers and acquisitions or business brokerage practice. Marrying that business brokerage practice and those professionals with our real estate professionals that are focusing on office, retail, industrial, multifamily investment really provides, I think, a true full service approach to assisting occupiers, owners, investors, the whole spectrum.
Whenever I talk to you, I learn something new, even though I think I know it all sometimes. But I learn something new, which is phenomenal. Where can people go to reach your team? If they just have questions about how do I buy a building?
Yeah, good question. I mean, Colliers, Colliers.com, Colliers, has tremendous resources when it comes to not only, best practices with respect to the pandemic and
is that market data
business.
free? I think you shared
it's all free
on your website.
It's all free.
Wow.
And our research, our market intelligence is unrivaled. I've always believed that the real differentiating factor between companies, between professional services providers, really comes down to proprietary market intelligence and the ability to not only develop that intelligence but deliver that to clients in order to help them leverage opportunities in the market and identify really in the future where their best opportunities will lie.
It's killer you shared that with me, and it gives you an idea of like retail and industrial and all those things, and it gives you a reference point of where things are, so you're not just guessing. Yeah. So I mean, it's gold and it's free. So thank you.
Anyone in business needs to have a real estate strategy. I don't care if you're in the garage or if you're the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar publicly traded firm. A real estate strategy is essential to your success, and I think having the right professional to navigate that strategy and to help you kind of implement the right type of approach, to help you with planning and identifying opportunities is essential.
Well, your team's is the no-brainer team to go to because you guys are so experienced and you're not guessing.
Well, we're very lucky. This isn't something
great.
we just started. This next year will mark my 30th year in commercial real estate.
30th year in computers too.
Hey,
Yeah, we're moving along.
we're brothers. It has been an incredible ride, and I feel like we're just getting warmed up. Everything that I have done and that my team has done to this point is really just a warm up. It's foundational to really providing service and support to our clients to help them succeed in the future.
This is great. I'm going to completely shift gears to Skinwalker Ranch.
Okay.
Because I think a lot of the people are tuned in because they wanted to really hear what's going on behind the scenes there.
Right.
Recently, you called me to build a computer for the command center.
Yes.
Something crazy to operate that.
Well, we needed a supercomputer to help really to help our systems and our technology out there at the ranch.
The phenomenon out there of just watching the show on the History Channel, the Skinwalker Ranch show, crazy stuff. Phones turning off, dialing randomly, people, electromagnetic bursts, just crazy stuff. But maybe we start from the beginning. Is recently, I read that article that you had bought Skinwalker Ranch was in 2016.
Yeah, actually 2016, April of 2016, I acquired what is really the most scientifically studied paranormal hotspot on the planet. It's a 512-acre piece of property in northeastern Utah that was really the site of a Pentagon-funded black budget program investigating not only the UFO phenomena, but other high strangeness. And I had the opportunity and privilege of meeting with a billionaire entrepreneur out of Las Vegas. His name is Robert Bigelow of Bigelow Aerospace, who acquired the Space Habitats program from NASA, the inflatables program that is really going to enable Moon and Mars habitats, and he even has a module up on the International Space Station right now. Wow. Mr. Bigelow is an incredibly interesting figure. He's the only private entrepreneur on the planet that has 2 private space stations in orbit. And as he has shifted his focus from some of these more esoteric endeavors like Skinwalker Ranch to his aerospace venture in North Las Vegas, he really opened up the opportunity to have me acquire the property. He had owned it for 20 years, had acquired it in 1996 for the purpose of really enlisting a team and a focused effort to study strange phenomena. And in 2017, the New York Times broke the story on the fact that this ranch in Utah happened to be a key part of a secretive program that had been studying a lot of these very controversial topics. So when the opportunity was brought to me a number of years ago to not only meet Mr. Bigelow but have the opportunity to acquire this property, I jumped at it. Now I think it's important to note I've never seen up until that point a UFO, a ghost, an orb, or anything that would really qualify as something in the paranormal.
You're a pretty scientific dude, you know.
I approached it really as a healthy skeptic, having never seen anything like that, but being open-minded. And so I initially believed that there was most likely a natural prosaic explanation for what had been reported out there for decades, if not longer. And so I installed my own team of scientists and experts over 4 years ago in order to really take the investigation to the next level, to establish a new era of scientific rigor and focus on really getting to the bottom of what was at work on the ranch and whether there was something truly going on of an extraordinary nature. And again, I was a skeptic, and I thought there's a 95% chance that we're simply going to either debunk or identify a natural explanation for what is being seen. And as for the anecdotal accounts that had happened over decades, it could very well be the product of groupthink or a scientific snipe hunt of sorts. I was surprised to eventually learn that was not the case. That there is reality to what has been recorded out there. And the show The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch has endeavored to bring to the general public globally the reality of what my team has been experiencing. It was interesting, a year and a half, 2 years ago, the History Channel approached me on numerous occasions to try to see if they could launch an investigative series to follow the efforts of our team out at the property. And up until just a few months ago, I'd kept my identity as the owner of Skinwalker Ranch confidential. I had no desire to ever go public, in fact, with my identity as the owner, and wanted to keep that private indefinitely. I did not want that.
You were like Charlie
interest.
from Charlie's Angels.
Exactly, and I really didn't want it to compromise any of my other business activities. I mean, the ranch really comprises only maybe 3 to 5% of my bandwidth, and is a very small part, although very high-profile part of my my
I think it's cool,
activity.
man.
So, but I saw it as an opportunity to really launch what I felt could be the greatest science project of our time. I mean, the opportunity to potentially prove that we're not alone in the universe, that we may live in a multidimensional reality, and to have a scientifically driven project that could potentially confirm that was intriguing. And you know, the television series has been the vehicle to really not only inform the public, but allow the public to, in a very real way, take that journey with us and to be able to follow the efforts of the team. I had two conditions when I sat down with the History Channel and their executives and my production partner, Prometheus. Number one, it had to be 100% true. Fact. Nothing could be contrived or fabricated. I was not interested in being part of a program that would fake anything or present anything to the public that was not absolutely 100% true and had integrity. I think there are enough programs out there, you know, people with, you know, night vision goggles tripping over themselves in the dark and making very bold claims when it comes to these topics. I wanted to bring a level of professionalism and scientific rigor to this investigative series. The second condition was that they needed to use my team. I was not interested in having a group of strangers or a casting call, you know, bringing in people from the outside.
So you handpicked.
Yeah, so, you know, 4 years ago, I installed my team, which is really a multidisciplinary group of professionals, you know, scientists, contractors, and experts that brought various skill sets to the table that would help us not only establish the security protocols with, you know, continuing to secure the property and to maintain the integrity of the investigation that had been started by Robert Bigelow, but also, you know, be able to implement the right type of surveillance systems and monitoring systems in order to get to the bottom of what is really at work. I mean, to install dozens of cameras, including, you know, thermographic, you know, night vision, you know, infrared imaging, and also, you know, infrasonic sensors, you know, ground penetrating radar that we brought to the table. You know, we have our own weather station, we have our own avionics receiver and platform out there in order to be able to differentiate from that which may be conventional in the sky and that which may actually warrant further investigation was important. And having the right team in place, I thought was really essential to our success. So, you know, I required the History Channel to do that. They agreed to both conditions.
Wow. So everything on there, nothing is fabricated. It's what you,
it's 100% true.
What you get.
And you know, a lot of people online, you know, on occasion, they've piped up with a lot of criticism, not realizing that this is a fully unscripted effort. These aren't actors. None of these individuals have ever, you know, acted. The only person on the television series that had any prior experience or exposure to this type of media was Dr. Taylor, who was the outside physicist that I brought in order to challenge the team. I mean, Dr. Taylor owns multiple PhDs in physics, 3
Pretty
master's
accredited,
degrees.
right? So
yeah,
he's
you know,
like
works,
the real deal.
Yeah, works with NASA and the intelligence community. He's very credentialed, very impressive individual, and you know, he was the only person that had been in front of a television camera up until this point. And so it was a new experience for all of us. The unscripted nature is something that people, I don't think, fully grasp. I mean, the fact that there are no notes in front of anyone, I mean, this is not contrived. I mean, we literally were working on the fly. We had, you know, a team of, you know, professionals out there following my team every hour of the day and recording their efforts and their experiments and the protocols involved with their experiments in order to see if there were any results. And I you know, I was a little worried that there could be, you know, a period of time where they don't see any activity. I mean, I had gone 6 months owning the ranch before I myself witnessed anything personally.
You didn't see anything for 6 months?
No. I had been traveling out there every month for 6 months after purchasing it and had no extraordinary experience. It was just a beautiful landscape and a strikingly beautiful landscape that seemed peaceful, and there was nothing that I was observing that first, you know, half year that would really qualify as extraordinary or unusual. And so to have a team of people from Los Angeles, drive in and mobilize on site. I mean, they had 2 production trailers, I think 25
Wow.
people that were there. I mean, this is a big budget big budget effort, and this is a first class effort to.
So the
really
curiosity is
important.
killing me. So what's the first thing you saw that was like, wow?
Well, for me, I mean, with my own eyes, it didn't come for at least 6 months, but within the first 90 days, I had a drone surveyor that was capturing drone footage of the ranch and the entire area for me in order to build kind of a baseline to work from, a baseline historical record not only of the landscape, but also the skyline out there, so we could build on that and compare that in the future, against various footage. And within a couple of months, he was capturing images in broad daylight that seemed to defy any natural explanation and didn't fit the description of conventional craft. I mean, we were capturing in broad daylight these images of craft, both on video and photographically, that did not correspond with any known commercial or private air traffic in the area, and for all intents and purposes matched that description of a UFO, different types, and to see that, I was intrigued, but I wasn't convinced. I thought there's probably some type of advanced aerospace project at work that we're capturing on film out in the basin, and we're seeing glimpses of that. But it wasn't until about 6 months in, I was there entertaining a group of individuals that had flown in to investigate the property, and we had all sorts of not only strange electromagnetic anomalies occur, but we also had a visual sighting right in the middle of the day.
Whoa.
Over what they call the mesa. So that the property has a mesa plateau that runs the entire expanse, from one end to the next, from east to west. And it's a beautiful kind of red rock mesa that has cave systems in it, and it's a real key landmark of Skinwalker Ranch. Well, as we were coming back to the security trailer, mid to late afternoon, this is 6 months, this is October of 2016, the group of us were just shocked by what we saw. We all had this visual sighting of this object that was right in front of us in broad daylight.
You saw this?
Yeah, hovering right above the mesa.
Whoa.
And it was 40 to 50 foot long. I mean, it was silver grayish. It was a disc-like object, and it moved with split-second speed, and
everybody saw that.
It darted back and forth, and there were 3 of us
Whoa.
that witnessed this. I hadn't met the other 2 individuals before that day, and I really haven't spoken to them since. And to have multiple witnesses see this,
Crazy.
and to have all sorts of electromagnetic anomalies that were occurring. I mean, cell phone drainage and disruption. People were having all sorts of, we call them acute medical episodes. We had one individual that was there as private security that ended up catatonic, that was completely frozen for a period
Whoa.
of 10 minutes in the middle of the afternoon. I mean, all sorts of high strangeness,
Crazy.
but to have that visual sighting in broad daylight right in front of you, and it was crystal clear, and to see this object move in the blink of an eye back and forth, over really the course of about a 20-second period.
It's a long time.
And then completely disappear was jaw-dropping. And it's something that you can't unsee. Up until that point in time, I always could plead ignorance, or I always had plausible deniability when it comes to investigating the phenomena out at the ranch. I could always hold the view as a skeptic that there was some conventional explanation, or that people were hallucinating, or that that it was potentially easily explained. In this case, there was no conventional explanation.
So as of today, do you believe in an extraterrestrial?
I don't know that I believe that what has been observed out there is coming from other planets. It could be coming from other dimensions. In fact, I think most of the planet, without knowing it, believe in a multi-dimensional reality. Anyone who believes in life after death, believes that there are other dimensions of reality, that their consciousness or their spirits or their souls pass to, when they die. And I think, the fact that there is an opportunity here to potentially validate that there are interactions with beings or entities from other dimensions of reality, I think that's exciting, and that's one explanation. The extraterrestrial, the ET, theory is another explanation. I think we have yet to really understand the origin or the agenda of what we are observing out there. That said, we're definitely verifying that it's real, that this isn't the product of someone's imagination or groupthink, and we've been really developing a sizable amount of evidence, not just visual evidence, but also data that really helps back up the fact that we may not be alone in the universe.
This is amazing. Are you going to do a lot more seasons going forward?
Yeah, so there will be a season 2. They'll start filming and following the team this next month.
Nice.
It was a hit, so the History Channel is really recognizing it as their biggest new hit in years, which was quite gratifying. And the team is mobilized. The investigation has continued. So, the television show exists because there has been an ongoing investigation. And that investigation didn't cease when the camera stopped rolling. It just has continued, and the televised effort will pick up essentially where we left off, or to a degree at least this year we'll start following the efforts and the experiments and the work of the team. But you can expect that it may be as soon as this fall.
Wow,
that
I'm
season
excited.
2 will air. So,
it was like a cliffhanger in the last one. Everyone's like,
yeah. Well, I think everyone has a new mandate to double down and to not only explore with greater rigor and aggression the phenomena out there, but I think we all came away from the experience this last year with lessons learned. I mean, this is a process, not an event. I mean, we're learning a lot. I have a lot to learn. I feel like we're just barely scratching the surface, not only of our reality and the nature of our reality, but what we can accomplish out there. And I think as long as we use scientific rigor, discipline, and really total integrity,
you're the perfect guy for it, because that's how you're wired. You're very logical and methodical.
Well,
I'm guy.
I'm used to dealing with tangible assets. With I've built a business, based on a very physical interaction with the economy. To have the opportunity to change the skyline of our communities has been a great privilege. And this endeavor with Skinwalker Ranch is a completely different type of effort. It's a different type of real estate project, if you will. I mean, you're dealing with forces that are unexplained, that are difficult to characterize, that aren't as tangible as one would like. But we look forward to getting to the bottom of what is really at work there.
Brandon, I thank you for giving us all this insight from real estate, which a lot of the viewers out there are interested, but also the unknown. This is amazing, and so people can watch this on the History Channel.
Sure, they can stream it. I think
there.
it's on Amazon Prime. I think you can get it on Hulu. But we're excited to launch season 2, and they're mobilizing right now to begin filming, and it'll be interesting to see what we uncover. I will say, I believe that in the first 20 minutes of the first episode of The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, we revealed more than what I've seen in 20 years of programs that have attempted to address these topics.
And I like it because it's real.
Yeah, it's real. These are real people.
That's what trips me out, man.
This is unscripted.
This is not.
Yeah, this is a real place. This was the real site of a black budget secret program that really studied the phenomenon. And you have the most secure, scientifically studied hotspot of this kind on the planet, and it's really been under lock and key for over 20 years. I mean, for 24 years, this property has had 24/7, 365 days a year surveillance and armed security. And to have a secure perimeter, to have a living laboratory that can be studied, that has been preserved for this purpose, is quite unique.
This is cool. I'm excited for that next season and visiting you maybe out there too. And
well, it'll be great. Thanks for supplying us with the supercomputer that my principal investigator Eric Bard is utilizing. We see you as a technology partner in this endeavor, and again, we're looking to improve our systems and our approach scientifically to the problem set.
We're excited to help in any way we can. So this is
very good. It's a pleasure being with you. And
Brandon, thank you so much.
We'll keep in touch.
So watch the Skinwalker Ranch series on History Channel, and then I think last time you mentioned the best place to find out what you're up to is like on LinkedIn.
Yeah, you can follow me on
articles.
LinkedIn, Twitter at Brandon Fugal, BrandonFugal. I stay active on social media, and I'm constantly posting and providing insight relative to not only the commercial real estate market, but thought leadership on really the economy and how we can best address some of the challenges that we face in our world today. So I think there is a lot of reason to be optimistic, and I think our best days lie ahead of us. I think even with the challenges, there is great opportunity, and I think being able to seize those opportunities and develop the strategies in order to identify them.
I really appreciate you coming on Jedi Brandon.
It's good to be with you. Thank you so much.
So every week, I'll bring in a great friend, Jedi, to share their wisdom with you. There's no fee, as you notice, for this podcast. All we ask is that you execute and you share it with your friends and loved ones who may benefit. And if you are going to take some financial gain from what you've learned here, take 10% of that net income and give it to a great charity that's going to help the world. Thank you so much. We'll see you again next week on Dan's Millionaire Code.